Cities became the predominant economic, cultural, and population centers in the last century, and urban centers will rise in importance through this one. This will bring astounding new opportunities for innovation and growth, but high concentrations of infrastructure and population mean that they can be uniquely vulnerable in the face of climate change. This presentation discusses these vulnerabilities, why current institutions and methods hinder municipal officials in addressing them, and an approach which can offer new avenues by bringing the collective innovative capacity of businesses, citizens, and elected officials to bear. We'll begin with why climate adaptation is such an urgent priority for urban communities. Asphalt and concrete absorb and reflect energy from the sun, which leads suburban areas to be warmer than surrounding undeveloped areas during day or night, and downtown areas to be warmer still. Increases in mean temperatures from climate change will amplify this effect and cause strain on energy infrastructure from air conditioning, and more worryingly, strains on public health as rising temperatures combine with smog to produce ozone, exposing elderly and asthma sufferers to a severe threat. High temperatures will also increase evaporation, decrease snowpack, threatening water supplies. And when the rain does come, it'll come more intensely in shorter periods. Runoff from roads and buildings will amplify the effects of these flashy storms, increasing the likelihood of severe flooding. Finally, cities on the coast are particularly vulnerable as sea level rise combines with storm surges to threaten low-lying coastal infrastructure. The United Nations has identified a number of cost-effective opportunities that can be taken to lower risk and advance sustainable development. Coastal facilities, wastewater, transportation and energy systems, and housing can all be protected and improved, with measures that reduce present, near-term, and long-term climate risk under 2 or 4 degree warming scenarios, while supporting economic, environmental, and social goals. Unfortunately, many cities, including those that are large and well off, aren't planning for the challenges of climate change in advance, but only reacting after the crisis strikes. Paris didn't develop a heatwave preparedness plan until prompted by the heat-related hospital admissions and loss of life of the 2003 heatwave, and it took the destruction of Hurricane Sandy to motivate many cities on the east coast of the U.S. to begin planning for extreme storms. Despite a reactive approach to adaptation, cities cannot be accused of ignoring the problem of climate change. Cities are often far more aggressive in reducing their carbon emissions than the nation states in which they are housed. How can we explain this contradiction? Well, cities are faced with 2 relatively new cross-cutting responsibilities. They must ensure that they are sustainable, that is, they ensure that social, economic, and environmental needs are met without harming the opportunities of future generations, and they must also be resilient. That is, they must be able to withstand and bounce back from shocks, be they natural or man-made. But these responsibilities cut across existing ones, such as water and sewer, transportation, housing, and parks and recreation. And these authorities don't just have to figure out how to work better together. They also have to answer to elected officials, who in turn are answerable to citizens, many of whom either own businesses or rely on the business community for jobs. Raising taxes or fees or changing laws and regulations has implications for everyone, so even the best intentioned initiatives may require wider acceptance. Let's say our water and sewer department wants to be proactive, anticipating climate change, wants to expand sewers to manage flooding risk. If the water and sewer department could act unilaterally, such action would be no problem. But new and larger sewers are costly and will lead to significant traffic disruptions. The cost will ultimately be borne by citizens who may object to higher bills or the fact such action doesn't protect lakes and streams. Businesses may be disrupted by traffic detours. Politically speaking, this may cause worries, which may mean the sewer pipe expansion is postponed indefinitely. There are alternatives to the pipe expansion project which can improve the city's resilience and sustainability in many areas. Green infrastructure, for example, provides exciting opportunities to increase resilience while getting environmental, social, and economic benefits. Downtown streets can be converted to green streets, attractive measures that can be part of urban revitalization efforts. Low-impact development can be used to preserve functions of existing plants and soil and housing projects. And rain barrels can be installed to capture and reuse rooftop runoff, which would otherwise go into the sewer system. Rooftop areas themselves can be turned green. All these areas work together to absorb and retain rainfall, decreasing flooding. Additionally, our new street trees cool downtown areas, countering urban heat island effect. They also reduce sulfur dioxide, ozone, and airborne particulate matter. This green infrastructure can provide additional water quality benefits, habitat for critters, improve the general livability of the community with jobs and recreational opportunities, and even new business opportunities. It could do so in a cost-effective manner. So why doesn't our Water and Sewer Authority just roll it forward with these exciting measures? Well, there are a lot of parties involved, so it can't act unilaterally. Green streets will require the transportation department to change the way it does business and may conflict with its priorities and may even require maintenance from the parks department. Rain barrels require homeowners to install and empty them at regular intervals, and low-impact development practices require property to be planned and developed in new ways, raising concerns of customer acceptance. And new guidance and rules might be required. The water department itself may be skeptical and may not want to experiment with unfamiliar approaches, and so even hinder bottom-up efforts. Some sort of political leadership is likely to be required to convene the parties around new solutions. Everyone's busy, so it's hard to get these parties around one table, and many overlapping and often competing priorities, the same ones that have hindered the adoption of smart city technology, make it even harder to agree on specific policy. So it's often the flood that motivates action, and the most ready course of action is often the expensive sewer expansion project, which seems well worth the investment now. It would seem an economist could conduct a cost-benefit analysis to provide the basis for rational action, but while it's easy to quantify the costs and benefits of doing nothing or expanding our sewer system, evaluating green infrastructure in such a way is a far more complicated undertaking. While approaches exist to attach monetary values to the sighting of, say, a rare bird, they don't solve the fundamental political problems. The value someone attaches to the bird is often correlated with what newspaper they read and who they voted for mayor. In fact, on one key analytic choice, how to value the costs and benefits of today versus those in the future, even economists disagree. So how did we get our drinking water infrastructure in the first place? A costly and sophisticated undertaking. In this case, the problem was relatively clear-cut. The engineering analysis yields a definite cost, and there was general consensus that cost is worth paying. This is an easier benign problem, one that could be solved with engineering analysis and cash. The initial installation of the sewer pipes was similarly a benign problem. But expanding the pipe system to deal with future flooding risk is part of a wicked problem. While the pipe expansion will make the community more resilient to flooding, it may not be the top priority, as the community will be considering other priorities such as sufficient affordable housing, reliable transportation infrastructure, business opportunities, and the environment. The challenge is to find ways all these priorities can be reconciled, and to do this, we need to unravel this wicked problem and turn it into a series of benign ones. Deliberation is essential for formulating these broader aims, but talk isn't enough. We need to establish a robust scientific and technical basis for planning specific actions and infrastructure projects. Sim4Act ensures that deliberation and analysis support and reinforce each other through an approach specifically developed to solve wicked problems. We facilitate the community arriving at a common vision and understanding, and scientifically and technically ground this understanding through computer simulation that allows the adequacy of specific approaches to be checked. To accomplish this, we translate the actors' competing visions into terms of what they see as the core problem, which other actors they believe are involved, the resources at stake, as well as the important natural dynamics and actor interactions. We then develop a serious game which allows actors to better see and understand how other stakeholders understand the problem, as well as provide comment and iterative improvement until there's general agreement that the game represents the situation the community is in. The discussion between the stakeholders themselves provide the basis for common vision and understanding. The rules and components of the final game allow us to develop the computer simulation. Here's a quick illustration of how this works in practice. We can fit our water authority's understanding quite readily into our framework. It sees the problem is flooding. Its focus on how its staff and equipment can address the flooding, though it need additional cash. Naturally, it sees a role for itself in the system, though it must acknowledge political realities. Is concerned about how flooding affects the citizens of our cities, and is concerned that with climate change and current infrastructure, this flooding will increase, so it even has a reliable solution in mind. But how can we do better? Well, let's look at the mayor's concerns and vision for change. The mayor is committed to downtown revitalization and very concerned with the health effects of urban heat islands. He wants to put municipal resources to dealing with these issues, and he sees a number of different groups of actors involved with solving these problems, including some citizens who are quite engaged in local environmental issues. Health effects and getting residents to frequent shops are very important, and these interactions take place against the background of the economy and natural warming. He's not completely sure, but he thinks green streets could take care of many problems at once. And here we already have the rough outline for a serious game. The game will probably revolve around using municipal resources, in this case strategically placing green streets, to keep our downtown areas economically vibrant and cool. Some players will take the roles of municipal officials, but citizens and local business owners must also be represented, as they are essential to our outcomes. And now we can get our stakeholders in the community to play this game. They're going to have some comments on what's missing from it. We've obviously left out flooding risk along with storm dynamics and sewer infrastructure. We also learned from this session that part of the concern about green streets is that maintenance of street trees is the jurisdiction of Parks Department, so they'll also have to be involved. A new, more sophisticated version of the game can be built with this new information. But in a comment on that point, our environmental activist offers another direction. The activists suggest new resources that can be brought to the table in the form of engaged and informed local citizens. These citizens are working to bring more progressive solutions to the city in the form of street trees and rain barrels. Yes, they see the sustainability and resilience challenges differently, primarily in terms of habitat and water quality, but there is an important overlap. They've been trying to play an expanded role in the municipal policy for some time. Perhaps, with some municipal support, citizens can play a role in arriving at their preferred and by all accounts better solutions. Well, these solutions are likely best rolled out on a neighborhood scale, so we can develop a small game to see how these practices will play. The resulting discussion, or ones around new versions of the game, might lead us in new directions, and this is very much the point of the process, to enable new and innovative approaches to emerge and receive serious treatment. At a certain point, we're going to have a bunch of good ideas on the table, and the community is likely to be converging on some common ideas of what sustainable and resilient solutions will look like. The question becomes, will our exciting ideas in fact work? Now the games have fulfilled their role, and we can create a computer simulation that models all the important information the games contain. This simulation gives us an environment to evaluate the outcomes of various infrastructure approaches, management options, and regulation and financing. This is where the inspiration meets cold data analysis to see if it holds up. If it doesn't, we can reiterate the process again, this time with the information from the simulation building on the new understanding and trust between the stakeholders. If our simulation does support our proposed solutions, it becomes something more, a trusted tool for detailed planning. Best of all, cases far more interesting and innovative than the simplified one described in this presentation are already happening in cities around the world. Sim4Act's approach isn't magical, it's simply a tool that allows citizens and policymakers to bring the full innovative potential of urban communities to bear on wicked climate adaptation and sustainable development problems. We believe that now is an urgent time to bring this potential to bear and hope we'll have the chance to work together soon. If you'd like to work with us or otherwise be involved, please send us an email at info@sim4act.com. Thank you very much.